Good afternoon, everybody. Thank Furlough, it's Friday, as they say. It's actually quite a sunny day down here, quite close actually. I don't know what you've got up there. We've had a very, very busy week this week. A few hiccups at the beginning of the week with our delivery of the Inspire tour. But thanks all of you for hanging in there with us and keep on trying. And I think everybody got through in the end. You all really hit the play button all at the same time, which we should have worked out, but it didn't quite work and the system was completely overloaded. But I'm really pleased to see that we had one of the most successful ever Inspire tours, more of you and more new people that we've never met or seen before all joining in. So thank you for that. I'm sure you will have found it useful. We're getting a lot of feedback on social media and directly to ICB to say it's great. Some of you said that you wanted to be able to ask questions, so we did actually go live again with ICB TV because we hadn't anticipated that, but we thought, right, great, we go back on. So my plans for a holiday were short-lived. It wasn't a real holiday, it just meant that I was hoping to get on with a few other things. But anyway, so it all went really well. We've had a fantastic week. And thanks to all of you out there who are living your disheveled lives as they are at the moment. You're putting up with everything that's being thrown at you, and you're still coming out in the main part smiling and pretty happy and willing to move forward, look after your clients and look after your family, your business, and everything. You are brilliant people. You're unfortunately not classed as frontline, which is a great shame to me because I think you all deserve a clap. We'll be doing something at some stage, surely, to recognise all those of you that have been so important to British business. And as we move out of this, and as somebody somewhere gives us clues as to when we're going to be coming out of hiding, there'll be an even bigger call on your time. And we're also going to be here helping you do that, giving you some idea as to how to achieve all the new goals that you will have, the new working practices, and basically the whole new life that you're going to have shortly. So that's something to look forward to. And today we've got something else to look forward to because, as usual, on our Thank Furlough, it's Friday, my guest today is Jacquie Mount. Hi, Jacquie.
Hi, everyone. Nice to be back with you. Can't believe it's a whole week since I spoke to you. It's gone so fast. It's been unbelievable.
Yeah, we're melting into each other a bit, aren't
yeah,
they? I still have to keep looking at my calendar to see what day it is.
Yeah.
I've no idea on the... Oh, it's... yeah, of course it's 1st of May. Yeah, I did the White Rabbit script this morning. Now. Do you do White Rabbits in your house?
Leslie does. I didn't. He reminded me. I'd forgotten.
Yeah. Well, I forgot.
But the 1st of May comes after the 30th of April, and there aren't 31 days in April, so
yeah.
never mind.
Oh, well. And we have another slightly different bank holiday this year. First time we've had a Friday bank holiday, other than obviously around Easter. But the early May holiday is on Friday for VE Day. So VE Day. Right, great. So. You've got some updates for us.
I have. Quite a lot's come out the last few days. It's been trying to keep on top of it. Firstly, Hmrc issued an update to their CJRS guidance yesterday, and there are quite a lot of things that have cropped up in that, which we will update on our COVID hub. I haven't got around to doing it yet, but we will get that done hopefully for Monday morning. And basically, there are quite a few questions that have been answered that have been hanging around for a while. The updates really that are important to us as far as the ones that I've been asked questions about is that we can confirm that the CJRS is not a de minimis state aid. Now, that one's been going around for ages. And they've actually put it in writing now. So what that means is the employment allowance, the £4,000 that you get, the state, the grant scheme is not going to impinge on that, completely separate. Talking about the employment allowance, one of the questions that we've also had is, can we defer that until after the furlough period? And we've been humming and hawing about it. Now, I've seen some reasonably official comments on this. I have to say, I can't remember whether it's from Hmrc, but I think it might have been from one of the payroll software providers. that are saying that they would suggest that you switch off the employment allowance until this is over and then switch it back on again. But I'm not, because it's a while since I've run payroll software, I'm not sure if you've done your April payroll run and it was switched on, whether you can now switch it off. So those of you who are running payroll will need to have a look at your software, maybe do a little bit more research. If I can find the reference that I had, I'll pop it up for you. But it's definitely, the CJRS is definitely not counted as state aid.
If anybody's got any questions, please dial in now. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. If you can put something up in the comments of the questions, that would be great. Directors with an annual pay period. Now, these people are going to fall through the cracks. People who take their salary for the year at the end of March will have taken a salary at the end of March 2019 to fall into the 18-19 payroll year, and they were due to take their salary payment at the end of March 2020, but hadn't done it by the deadline of the 19th of May. Now, Hmrc have confirmed now pretty much that if you didn't put a pay claim in before the 19th of March for your directors on annual pay, they're not going to get anything on the furlough scheme. Now, again, I think it's unfair because they've been paid within a year. They're not due to be paid till the 31st of March, but they're not going to get anything at the moment. So I think that's still a hole that I don't know whether they'll come back on it, but it's not definite in the guidance, but they've definitely mentioned it now. So when we put the link up, maybe you want to have a look at that and see if you interpret it slightly different to me.
Do we have any idea how many people that affects, Jackie? Have you any idea?
I don't know, but I know we've got a couple of members who have got clients that are in that position. I've been contacted by at least one, if not two. So a couple of our members will be affected. If you're listening, then perhaps you can let us know, or, you know, look into that. You know, I can always push that back to Hmrc. I have to say, though, that my contact, who is the chair of the tax agent support group, that has said, if any of the professional bodies want to send me questions, I will pass them up the line. Well, if he can answer the question, he's coming back to me within 6 hours. However, if he has to push it up the line, I am not getting answers back. So anything that he can't cope with, I'm not getting answers on. Just running through here, a bit on the calculator. They've updated the information on employees coming back from statutory sick pay, statutory sick leave and statutory maternity leave. So there's more information on that. And there's also the point, we spoke about employees who do not have national insurance numbers because they're under 16. I've asked if it's intended that you can furlough and claim them, but again, that's one I haven't had the answer to. But what it actually says online is that when you're making a claim for your furlough grant, if you have employees without an NI number, you have to ring them and make the claim over the phone. Now, I spoke to a member this morning who's been trying to do that, and she spent at least 6 hours or more waiting on the phone this week to try and do that, not getting through. So they're just so inundated, I think, at the moment, that you've got to think about what you're going to do about that, because once you're past the period for claim, you're not going to be able to go back and claim. And slight issues with one client who wants to claim, and it's, to be honest, the claim is for something like £55 because this is a part-time Saturday person, and the amount of time that this member I know has spent trying to get through to Hmrc for a clarification, it will be much more beneficial not to try and claim that £55 back, because it's, in the end, it's, you know, it's getting quite a hassle for our members. So if anybody else is in that situation and you're being hassled to put things through again that you're not too happy with, or you think is going to take an inordinate amount of time for what the claim's going to come back, I think, Gary, you'll agree with me, we'd like to hear about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm also interested in the £55 for a Saturday job. when I did my Saturday job, I remember getting a rise from 12 and 6 to £1. I thought I was in cloud cuckoo land.
I used to get £1 for a Saturday. Same era, Gary. We used to get £1 for a Saturday, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And an 8-hour day, no lunch. Yeah, anyway, still, never mind.
Well, talking about part-time wages, I happen to know of a young man, a student who's off at the moment, who got a job at one of the Amazon wholesale groups, packing boxes, and got paid and was quite pleased to find the hourly rate that they were paying him, because this was night work, because he's just old enough to work at night, and was getting a very good hourly rate, thank you very much. So he's quite happy to do that.
Yeah, I've heard a number of people say, look, I get paid more to work for Amazon now.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to stay at Amazon.
Yeah, but then it's a short-term contract, so not.
Yeah.
Right, those are the updates that have come out at the moment. Before I move on to another item, let's just quickly go through. I had a meeting online yesterday with the pensions regulator, picking up on a few things. There are some things on the pensions regulator website that will be useful for us. And again, we'll get something up on the COVID Hub website for that. It's scam time. We've heard this before. There are an awful lot of scams coming up. And basically the one for pensions that's going at the moment is to try to get you to move your pension from one scheme to another. Now, cold calling for pensions is against the law. But what they're also trying to do, I understand, is to get you to actually withdraw parts of your pensions under the new flexible pension scheme, to say they can get this much money out of your pension scheme for you, give you some cash up front at the moment, and that sort of thing. There is a letter which now, if members of staff, if workers are asking to either change their payroll, change their pension or withdraw pension funds, the pensions regulator have issued a letter which they're saying should now be sent to all workers who have asked to do this, which warns them of these various scams. So we'll put the link up to that, so you can see that and do that.
Yeah, I think you were on your meeting yesterday with the pensions regulator. I was at another meeting at which the pensions regulator was one of the attendees, but that was looking very much at transparency. They're trying to get through the system so that they can have a look at these scams in more detail. But apparently it's 1.4 million in January alone of this year that they found out about. You know, it's a lot of.
It's a lot of money that people are transferring out. And one of the things that came across is if you think you're going to see the scam coming, you're not, because they're very clever, and there are a lot of very intelligent people who would normally think they've got their feet on the ground, they'd recognize the scam, and they're not recognizing it, and they are losing hundreds of thousands of pounds out of their pension pots. So it really is very, very serious, and basically, unless they can find these people and stop it, once that money's gone, you're not going to get it back. Pensions, obviously with the current cash flow situation, we have had questions about what happens to the pension that's deducted from wages that maybe they haven't got the cash flow to send off to the pension companies. Now, we've said all along that it's not the company's money, so that pension has to be paid. One of the dates that I picked up yesterday was that if you do not pay your pension to the pension company within 90 days, you have to notify the pensions provider that you are falling behind with your pension contributions. They have now extended that from 90 days to 150 days before penalties and warning letters and everything start to kick in if they find out about it. So there is a slight change to, we're not saying there's a change to the length of time you've got to pay the pension over, but there's an extension in the time that you have to notify TPR that you're late with your pension contributions. Oh, we've got I've just noticed there's a chat.
Juliet McKenna?
Yeah, I've just seen that coming up from Juliet McKenna. Says, I got through to HMRC yesterday, we know national insurance numbers, and the fact that they had to accelerate it higher, and because differing number of people on their last IT8 will take over 72 working hours, exclamation mark. So people are getting through, but like everything else, I think what's happened at Hmrc is that they brought in a lot of people from other sections of departments to answer phones and take queries. And I would imagine that what's happening at the moment is they're sitting there with their list of questions and answers. And if it falls outside the guidance that these first level responders are given, they will bump it up the line, because we know that we've got somebody with one query that's gone to at least the third tier before they even got an answer. So hopefully. Right, anything else?
Well, at least they are giving answers, because I mean, Hmrc have for many years been accused of wanting to sit on the fence all the time. I don't think we're getting that at the moment. They are giving direct guidance, so that's something to be applauded, I think.
Yeah, and gradually the guidance is coming out in, the answers are coming out in the guidance, and we are gradually managing to clear down most of these niggling questions that have been around for a while. It's because we keep all pumping them through to Hmrc that I think they're getting to the stage where we'll take a policy decision. But don't forget, a lot of the policy decisions that they're taking actually have to go through the legal process. So I think they don't actually commit themselves in writing until they've got the legal authority to do that. So that's why. So I think that's all I've got from the pensions provider. Right. This week, the government announced bounce back loans, where the business interruption loans, which were the larger loans, as we all know, have had a lot of problems with people getting access to them. Some are and some can and some can't. I know of a number of businesses that have been rejected. Now, the reason for rejections could be that they don't see perhaps a need because they're using it for the wrong purposes. We had one in the very early days. I noticed it was reported in the paper that they were applying for the loan to enable them to develop their online business. That was rejected. If you can't provide the cash flow forecast which shows how you're going to repay that, then we know that some of those have been rejected. But the new bounce back loans are for smaller businesses and are from between £2 and £50,000, but it's based on a maximum of 25% of your turnover. Now, when the Chancellor announced that in the 5 o'clock briefing, I think on Tuesday, it was just a loan of up to £50,000. But I picked up from a contact of mine, and I watched the speech from Parliament that he gave in the House of Commons that afternoon. And he definitely said that the bounce back loans are up to 25% of your turnover with a maximum of £50,000. And I think if I'm right, there are no repayments during the first 12 months, but you then have 6 years, you have a total of 6 years to pay it back at an equitable interest rate.
I suppose that makes sense. I mean, if you've got a turnover of £10,000, being automatically entitled to a £50,000 loan doesn't make sense, does it?
Absolutely. So, but
it doesn't help startups, but it, the new people.
For those who picked that up earlier in the week and are saying to clients, well, that's fine because we can get up to £50,000. You might be able to, but it's 25% of your turnover. But it might help you with the short-term cash flow. The job retention grants are coming through now. If anyone's having problems with them, again, we'd be grateful. We'd be pleased to know. The next one, there's one other portal, well, two portals actually, that still remain to be open. One of them is statutory sick pay. Now, as of this morning, we still do not know how you claim your SSP back. Remember, you can now claim for 14 days from day one if it's coronavirus related. The portal is still not open, and I think they've got problems with that one because we've heard nothing in the last few days. And somebody did contact Hmrc, I think, one of my emails from someone, and they said, no, it's still not open. So keep your figures there. And the other one, which will be coming our way fairly soon, middle of May, we've been promised, is the self-employment grant. Now, I had a meeting online this morning with the tax agent group about this because they wanted to talk to the professional bodies about some of their thoughts and plans for this, which we can't divulge because it's confidential and it's not definite yet. There is some guidance coming out, which we were hoping was going to come out this afternoon, so I could make some announcements to you, but it may now not come out until Monday, so I can't announce anything on Monday. And if there's anything in there, then I will hopefully pop on to the webinar Monday afternoon for this. But the one thing that we have agreed we can say to you about the self-employment grants is, A, I think it's going to be quite a simple process. But as we understand it at the moment, agents may or may not be able to apply. Now, if it comes out that the agents can't apply, that means your clients have got to apply individually through their government gateway. So the message that came out this morning is, if you have clients who do not have their own government gateway, business government gateway, perhaps they should start to get one fairly quickly. And I think you've got to read into that what you want to read into it. To be honest, we do not know whether agents can apply, but if it comes out that they can't apply, then your clients are going to have to apply on their own behalf. And to do that, they need to be able to log into their own government gateway. And if they set that up, it's not going to affect you acting as agents.
I can't believe that the government, faced with all the extra work they're doing at the moment, would have asked people to tell all their clients suddenly to register if they didn't think there was going to be a use for it. But that might be a bit over of simplification. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm hoping to have more information for you on Monday or Tuesday on that one.
We've had one of our members this morning saying that she received the council grant and she hadn't asked for it, but she thought, oh, well, that's good, it must be automatic. So having got the extra money, she decided to pay off the VAT that she was not going to pay. And the council had come back to her and said, actually, it was a mistake, can we have it back?
Ouch.
Yeah. So she's having a bit of difficulty with them at the moment. And she's basically said, why is my institute not there to support me? We said, well, we are. Once we know what it's all about, we've asked for more information. But she said, well, she can't be the only person to whom this is happening. Well, I haven't heard it from anybody else, but if anybody else there has been suddenly sent a bonus through the post from their local council, who've then quickly asked for it back, can you let me know? Because, we're going to do something with our member for this, but if she hadn't requested it, I would have thought she should have checked that out, really. But we will see. If we can help, we will. But I think she's still going to owe the money, basically.
Oh dear, that's a shame. In this,
it is, yes. And I didn't really know what to say to her. She was quite upset about it. So we've agreed that she will get us more information and get me a contact to speak to. So I'll do my best with that one, obviously.
Yeah. The only other thing that I've got really as an update is one of the other queries that's outstanding is early years nursery provision. Now, I know we've got at least 3, if not 4 members who I've spoken to recently, one I spoke to this morning. Can I just thank those of you who have spoken to me about this, who've been sending me information. Susan Lang, I don't know whether you're on, but Susan Lang sent me a very interesting link to one of the official websites for the early learning provision with their facts, FAQs. And I was working through that and talking to Susan about it this morning. And what happened was that we were talking about how they're actually going to make this claim. Now, this only affects a small number of our members. So if you're listening, what I would like to do at some stage next week is to set up a very small Zoom meeting with any members who are involved in early years provision, because we would like to get a consensus of how you are actually dealing with your furloughing payments, because the information is not clear. At the start, it was very straightforward, and the more you get into this, the more complicated it's becoming. It's to do with the percentage of income that comes from local authority grants and from parents, and how you claim and what you can claim for and what you do with the grant. And so if anybody is involved in this, if you have my email address, you're welcome to use that directly. I'd like, if you're interested in coming on, to let me know which days might be good for you next week. And if you don't have my email address, could you email member services please, at bookkeepers.org.uk, and ask them to pass that on to me, and I will contact you, and we will try and set up a meeting next week to get a consensus of how it's going, what your views are, and if we need to go back to HMRC on your behalf. So anyone who's involved in early years provision, please get in touch with us. Those of you who I've already spoken to, so I think Sean and
Carol Shippers just said, I know a scout group that got sent a grant and didn't apply for one.
Oh.
So, Carol, you didn't say there whether actually you feel they're entitled to it, or is this just another error? Because I should imagine with millions of records, it's very easy to press the wrong button.
I was going to say, I'd be surprised if a scout group got it, unless they're paying to it because they're paying rates on a scout hall to the council.
Very strange, isn't it?
They probably are. If they've got a hall that they rent and pay rates on.
Unless they're a charity. Could it be one of the charitable grants? I don't know really. What it is.
I don't know.
Well, Carol, good luck with that one. Whilst you're thinking about that, Jackie, you're hopefully sitting there waiting to get this email from HMRC, which probably won't happen today, as you say.
No, I don't think it's going to happen today now.
Can I just say that this morning, or actually this afternoon, we had a meeting of professional bodies and the Companies House talking about their lockdown and what they're doing and how they're doing things. And there's quite a lot of stuff moving at the moment with them. And they're trying to make everything electronic as a stopgap. They're calling it their emergency filing service. And although not everything is now truly online, they are trying to open up virtually everything to be PDFable. In other words, you can send a PDF through, you can scan it and send it through. Somebody at the other end has then still got to manually sort it, but at least it helps you in submitting things. And also things like late filing penalties, that's now been extended to give people a little bit more time, but they do expect you still, obviously, to run your company properly. So, you need to work with your clients. One of the great outcomes from all of this is that in order to give you a bit better information, a bit more up to date, we have a special guest on Monday who is Hmrc Buckley, who is the head of intelligence and enforcement at Companies House. And he's going to come on and he's going to talk to us about things that are changing at Companies House and the way that they're looking at enforcement measures and relaxing in many cases those measures, but also what problems they're looking to see before they really happen, if you get my gist. So he's coming on. He'll be on Monday. So that's Hmrc Buckley, Head of Intelligence and Enforcement at Companies House. Now, I know that many of you, in fact, I think most of you are using Companies House Web Check to check out your clients when you're doing the AML online and see who's in there. It's an absolutely brilliant service, as you will all know. It's a free service, and I have my fingers crossed that will continue. I had heard somewhere that there was the possibility that we would eventually be charged for that, but I was assured by the people that I was talking to this morning that there are no plans for that at the moment. Certainly, they seemed a little bit aghast that anybody had mentioned it, so they're hoping that it's just a rumour that I've come across. So anyway, at the moment, it's free. So when you're doing your annual AML checks using your online system, it's very helpful to look at who is running a business. And one of the other hints, I've mentioned this a number of times over the last couple of weeks that we've been doing these programs, is if you check on the individuals who are directors, it then gives you a list of every other organizational company that particular individual is linked to. And I know we've had a couple of instances recently where people found that the director of the company they were dealing with had several other companies that were actually suppliers, in inverted commas, to the company that they were dealing with, and that turned out not to be great. And also one particular company that had two companies, each of which was the secretary to the other company. So no directors, anything other than one company named as the company secretary, if you like. But that meant that two companies didn't actually have a physical person responsible, no responsible officer. So things like that are picked up when you do searches. So the information is all. Please use those services. And as I say, good news this morning, I believe that they're not actually going to be charged for, which was a concern. Jackie?
Yeah, a couple of comments coming in. One from Terry. I also have a client who's received £10,000. They have a unit in the garden and may have registered it as rates exempt with the council, so it may be legit. What do you think?
You have that experience. You have a unit in the garden, I think they call it, Jackie?
Yes, I do, but I don't claim rates allowance for it because it's although I work from home, I don't actually run a business from home. So I'm slightly different.
You'd have to pay business rates.
Well, yeah, because the thing is, I would say the other thing with declaring an office at home as being exempt from business rates is that if you have part of your property that is registered as a business address, if you decide to sell that property, if it's part of your house, you can be charged capital gains on that part of the property that's business. So I was always advising people not to make any claims for that sort of thing. But if you're running a business from home and your home is the registered business address, then whether it's legit, I don't think I'd go out and spend it.
No, and I think also if you've got that sort of setup, you would need to look at your insurances and everything else because you're not covered by standard home insurance. You've got to look at, if you're a limited company working by yourself still, you've still got to look at employer's liability insurance, even though it's yourself. You know, it's one of those weird things. Have you seen the question here from Mike Johnson? Hi, Mike. This is, I presume this is...
Yes, I was just going to come back to that one. Can I just, before I do, Carol's come back. It was an accountant's client. This is the Scout group, and they don't think they should have it. It was 10K from the council. So again, yeah, it's a grant to, maybe not. Okay. One question from Mike Johnson. Hi, Mike. In order to get the self-employment grant, do you have to be able to prove that you are actually being adversely affected? Or will it be available to all who qualify? If you have to prove it, that could be difficult. Right. No, the answer is at the moment, we don't think you're going to have to approve it. And I don't think that's breaking any confidences. If you read the list of reasons for applying, one of them is that your profits have been adversely affected. Now, at the moment, a lot of people's profits are being adversely affected because they're actually not trading at the moment, so they're not getting any income, so hence they're applying for the grant to get them through this first 3 months. That's not to say that at a later stage they might get those profits in, they might be deferred, and by the end of the year, the profits will be as good as, or possibly even better. I think it's unlikely, but it might be better. And we did ask Hmrc this morning whether there might be some form of a clawback. At the moment, we've got no answer. However, I think you've got to look at this as to whether ethically you should apply for it. Yes, it's taxable and niable, but it is aimed at those who are struggling because of the current environment. So if you are still working through, then perhaps you should consider whether you should even apply for it. And at the moment, that's all I'm about to say on that one. Like CJRS, questions are going to start coming up over the next 3 weeks about the ethics of everything. There was a lovely one in the paper this morning about a certain well-known couple who are applying for furloughing, and you know they've got quite a lot of money themselves, and whether or not they should be putting staff on furlough. So there is an awful lot going around at the moment about the ethics of applying for these grants.
So are you saying posh people shouldn't apply?
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that at all.
Okay.
Not saying that at all.
I have to be honest. I mean, by the sound of things, a lot of the larger professional bodies, you know, some of the big accountancy bodies have furloughed their staff. But I mean, they've got huge reserves in the bank. I mean, I'm not sure really that that's right. But I mean, it's just a moral thing. I have to say, you know, I mean, all of our staff are at home working, every single one of them paid in full. We've not furloughed anybody because we didn't think it was morally right to do so if we could possibly get through this, and that's what we're trying to do. So, but you know, that's me off my.
Well, thanks to all your calls and emails, you're keeping them well occupied. When I do speak to them, they all seem to be rushed off their feet. So.
Yeah, they're doing really well at the moment.
Really busy.
Pauline's
come back and said, clarify the employment allowance de minimis state grant. It is definitely not a de minimis state grant. So, Pauline, if you're being asked to tick, when you tick your employment allowance, you're asked, I think Moneysoft, this one particular, is if you're asked to tick whether or not you are in receipt of state aid, if it's only the job retention scheme grant, the answer to you tick no to that. That is in the guidance and it's on the HMRC website now. So hopefully, Pauline, the answer to that is
Lucy Brown.
no.
Just, I don't know if you said Lucy Brown. I asked on an HMRC webinar this morning as to how the adverse effect would be measured. The answer was that the grant would increase profits and that would be taxed. Although it didn't give a clear answer, it inferred there wouldn't be much of an audit on this. I
don't think they're going to carry out an audit as such, but they might query it if at the end of the year you end up you've made the claim and you end up, for whatever reason, making twice the profit you made last year. Now, the thing is, that may be because other companies or businesses in your particular area have maybe shut down and you're picking up work because of it. You may be struggling at the moment, but we don't know what's going to happen at the end of the year. But I would say at the moment, if you are struggling, then apply for the grant to get you through. If you're busier than ever, or you really feel you don't need it, it's up to you to decide whether to apply for it. HMRC will be contacting everyone. They're still saying on the website around the middle of May. So within the next I'm hoping by the end of next week, we will have a lot more information for you. And certainly, I know we're not here Friday, but maybe Thursday. If I've got some more information to give you on how this is going to work, as I said, I think the system is going to be fairly straightforward and simple, but I'm hoping to have some ideas fairly soon to be able to give you some guidance on how the application scheme is going to work. There will be a portal opening, but you will be contacted by HMRC. However, people are going to fall between the cracks again because either they forgot to change their address or their registered address is their office and they're not going into their office at the moment because they can't get in, whether they send it by emails, texts or letters. There will be a date by which if you haven't heard from them, then perhaps you should contact them. But we'll have more about that next week, I think.
We've also had, bearing in mind this money that some people are receiving when they shouldn't, we've had the potential scam mentioned here that people are ringing up. Somebody is ringing up claiming to be from a government department saying that unfortunately there's been an error. They're about to receive £25,000 into their account. And they're very, very sorry, but they do need to send it back immediately. But because of the problems that they've had and to cover any potential charges, bank charges, etc., send them 24,000 back. But the 24,000 is going to a money launderer who then has cleaned 24,000 pounds of his money. So be very careful on these scams. There's always somebody out there that will find a way of cheating. So be very careful. I understand that I'm not sure how true this is. It's just something that's come through on an email, but a couple of accountants have been caught out on this and they've very quickly sent the money back. Just be very careful who you're sending it to, because I noticed the other day I had a scam email through, and whereas everybody is gsi.gov.uk if it's government, they were gsi.gov.uk, which is not the government. So you know, always look at the emails, and if it just says on there a particular department, if you hit that, it will then give you a breakdown of what the actual email is. Just be very careful. And you might even get some people just sending you an email saying, we believe you've been overpaid or you owe us X amount of pounds, send us the money now. Millions go missing every day. It's just unbelievable. Still. Well, are you sort of done there, are you, Jackie, now?
I think so. I've got nothing else to say today. As to say, I will be back hopefully early next week with some more information on the self-employment grants as soon as I can. I will check my emails once more, and nothing has come in.
Okay. Well, I'd like to just cover a few things which we're getting a lot of inquiries about at the moment at the office, and one of them is, do I have to continue with my annual AML checks online? Yes. There will be a certain amount of leeway, but really you've still got to continue as if you were doing this normally. Most of those checks would be online checks supported by looking through everybody's books and knowing what's going on. It shouldn't be anything that requires a face-to-face meeting. But if you do need to know anything, then obviously you can use things like this, Skype or Zoom or Google Meetups or whatever you can. If you carry on with that, because if not, it will create an alert that you haven't done that, and it saves us having to give you a call to make sure everything is okay. If you could take this time as an opportunity to look at your My ICB profile of yourself and your practice and make sure that there's nothing in there that you've forgotten to tell us. We're doing desk-based reviews of the whole database at the moment, starting with those in practice, but moving right the way through. And of the first 275 practices that we checked, I think we only had about 85 that were completely compliant. So there are some very minor things there, but one or two of you have forgotten to tell us that you've just given a member of the family 50% share, or somebody's moved on and what have you. So it's much better if you come and tell us, even if you're late telling us, than if we find out about it first. So, you know, please remember to do. And also check your employees. I know at this time, you know, some of you are furloughing employees, some of you are laying people off, others, what appears to be happening more than ever is people are taking on new clients. So please, if you could let us know whenever anything happens, and if you know, some of those changes, you need to call us. The office, as I've said already many times, is fully open. It's not actually in the office. We're all over the country, as far up as Blackpool, Wakefield, right the way down to South London, but we are around. So just, it's the usual number, 0203 405 4000. Speak to somebody. We will start to get things moving on that. Jackie.
Yeah, so I'm just sending back an email because two of you have already contacted me about the nursery, so I'm just bumping that back to say thank you very much. I'll be in touch. Two that I wasn't aware of, actually, so that's great. So that's two more. Thank you, the two of you just emailed me. I'm not going to mention you by name, but I have sent an email back. Yeah, I think that's plenty from me for today.
Right, now, can I just say, we're so pleased that the majority of you, very large majority of you, do seem to be making something out of this. You've found the silver lining in the COVID cloud, and you are moving forward and taking on new business. And just to give you an idea, we have looked at the system, and so far this year, our members have added 3,253 clients. That is absolutely amazing. That's a huge jump for, and at a time when you would think that some of you might be losing clients. Now that's a net figure, so that's once for anybody that's gone or missed has been taken off. And I know many of you are having problems at the moment, particularly if you've got a particular sector which is struggling and you've majored in on that sector. I know some of we've got members, for example, who look after the licensed trade. Well, it's going to be really tough for you. We absolutely appreciate that. Please get in touch if you think we can help. Anything we can do for you, we will be there to help you. But at the moment, the majority of concerns that people are having is about taking on new employees because they want to know how to get new people, because they are wanting to do more business, which is great. And so that is available to them. Just to give you an idea, the success that our members are having at the moment, I got these figures this was on the 16th of March. So in 2019, members added 10,905 clients. In 2018, 8,476. So, you know, that is really going some. I mean, that is really, really good. And it just bears out everything that we're hearing at branch meetings and various other things, and virtual branch meetings even. The big thing nowadays is doing the business and finding good people to do it. So that's good. As I say, I don't want to overshadow the problems that some of you are having. And I know I've spoken to a couple of you with the kids screaming away in the background, and there's no need to apologize for that sort of thing. We know we're all doing it, and it's just the way that we have to cope, some of us, and we will get through this. I understand next week that the government is going to give us an idea of what an opening up will actually look like and how we're going to cope it. Here in London, one of the biggest difficulties is when everybody goes back to work. Those of you who've travelled on the tube first thing in the morning will know there's not a lot of social distancing can go on. So how everybody's going to get back to work when they've got to stand 2 meters apart from everybody else, and who's going to monitor that, goodness only knows. But so it's not going to be as simple as it sounds. It's not just okay, folks, we're over this, go back and carry on as you were. So we're going to keep an eye on it. And ICB, I've got a team of people, members, who are going to be putting together a program of webinars and various other things and talk shows so that we can try and help you through this and help you take advantage of whatever comes out of this. But we've got to, I think we've got to cope with it. I'm hoping this is a once in a lifetime happening. And that, you know, some of you, this will be your once in a lifetime happening, and that'll be it, which would be really great. But so meanwhile, our very, very big praise to all of you for getting on and doing this. And I know that we get a lot of businesses ringing at the moment saying, where would I be without my bookkeeper? Well, yeah, great. Where would you be without your bookkeeper? And more reason for it.
Couple of questions.
Yeah.
Got a minute, Gary.
Yeah.
Follow-up question from Mike on the self-employment grant. Yeah, I was trying to sort of steer around that one, Mike. Mike's asking a follow-up. The fifth bullet point says you have lost trading profits due to COVID-19. I mean, it has to be an ethical decision about whether you think you've lost profits in the first 3 months, in which case apply for the grant, because you need the grant to get through. For the very smallest of self-employed businesses, it is very difficult, and we know that. So I would say at the moment, don't forget it is taxable and it is niable, so it counts as income to you. So it's there to replace the income you might have lost. However, what I would say is if you're a business where you've actually got more work because of this environment at the moment, because you're picking up work from elsewhere, then maybe you should think about whether you apply. Kevin Jarvis, hi Kevin. Do you or can you tell us if we missed things on the online portal? I will if I know they're missing. I'm not quite sure what you need from that one, Kevin, but come back to me if you need anything specific. Don't forget, I will reiterate, if you have any specific queries, please do email through member services, and they're mostly coming through to me. So it's interesting, I'm getting quite a few people that I've never spoken to before that I'm calling back, and I'm getting known as that lady that does the webinars, and I'm not going to go any more than that. He says, oh, is that you? Yeah, that's me.
Seagull lady, yes. Yeah, absolutely.
The seagull lady.
I noticed Mike Johnson there just said, please remind everybody that there's a meeting on Tuesday of his branch, the Avon branch, very successful branch. Come along if necessary. And I'm just looking here. We had the Warwickshire branch meeting this morning, and we got 24 people to that, which is a good number. Where else are we here? We've got the East and West Sussex branch. So we're doing a joint one down there. That's on the 5th of May. We have the Avon branch, therefore, on Tuesday the 5th as well. The Enfield branch, now that's new. We have a London branch, which always takes place in the middle of London, but we want to try and get something for that particular section. Enfield, we have quite a lot of members there, so we have that taking off. And I can see we've already got 34 people booked in for that. Obviously, these are all virtual. And then we've got, no, I tell a lie, it's 34 for Avon. I'm whizzing through on my phone here. 14 currently booked for Enfield. We've got the Berkshire branch meeting on the 20th of this month. Now, we've only got 11 booked for that at the moment, but as always, our members do book rather late in the day. That doesn't matter, that's great. You decide when you're ready. And on the 20th, we've also got a Surrey branch meeting, and we've got about 20 booked for that already. So these virtual branch meetings are going down really, really well. And for the first time ever, we've seen people that have been with us for years and have never turned up to anything. So it's good. It's nice to put a face to the name.
Pauline, the tick for the employer's allowance not to do the CJRS. Yes, you tick yes for the employer's allowance and no to the state aid unless you're in any other receipt of any other state aid, but the job retention scheme does not count as state aid. I think that's what you're asking me, Pauline, on that one. That's to do with, I think that's the money stock question. And Kevin's come back, sorry. All right, Kevin, it wasn't aimed at me. Referring to Gary's point earlier, we reviewed the portal and only 85 were 100% compliant. 85% were 100% compliant. Do you give us a friendly nudge if someone's missing, or go straight in with a heavy hand?
Well, the heavy hand comes at the end of a very long process, I'll say that. But we are sending as many reminders as possible to people, and we will come on and ask if there's anything you'd like to tell us, which I think is standard for any sort of professional body. But if you've ignored us, that's when the problem comes. Or if you've, or worse still, and we do occasionally get somebody who tries to tell us that black is definitely white when we can see that it's not. I had somebody trying to tell me recently that they didn't have any other directors on their company. I said, but they're listed on Companies House. Oh, well, they must have made that up. I said, well, they've not made it up. And eventually she said, oh, all right, yes, but it's just my husband, so he has nothing to do with the business. I said, yes, but technically he owns 50% of it. And we had a long drawn-out talk, but at the end of the day, we are guided by a law, not by, it's not Gary Carter thinking up the best way to trip people up or something or other. You know, these are real rules and regulations. And I'm publishing shortly a brief report. It'll be coming out because we've had 2 reports recently, one from our ruling body, OPBAS, but also one from an organisation called Hmrc, which is independent, and it has looked at OPBAS and what it's doing and its own reports and basically, I think they said OPBAS have done a reasonably good job, but it's saying they've got to be more robust and they've got to start throwing professional bodies out. Now, I understand that 3 professional bodies, and touch wood, we weren't one of them, have been put under what is called direction. In other words, I think they have to report every time they sneeze to OPBAS. I'm not sure quite what it means. And we don't want to get into that situation. So we are, you know, chasing everybody up. I'm really sorry to say that very shortly we'll be publishing details of a small number of members who've actually been expelled. And that was because they just refused to do what was expected of them. And you know, the rest of you doing your job properly, you deserve to know that when you're sitting in a branch meeting or going on to a virtual branch meeting, that everybody else on there has gone through the same number of hoops as you have done everything right, have done what was asked of them, and they are being as professional as you are. So we're here to protect your reputation, and we can't keep people in membership who are just blatantly turning a cheek or whatever way you want to put it, you know, but being downright awkward in most cases. Sorry.
Suzanne's come back and said, Gary, could you please mention the Aberdeen branch meeting?
Well, I would, but I can't on my list. When is it?
11th of May.
11th of May. Oh, well, that's great. Aberdeen, that's fantastic. We, I don't have any details of any others at the moment, so it might just be on there. But yeah, Aberdeen. Aberdeen's quite a nice little branch, actually. Most of you travel about an hour and a half to get to a meeting, so now it must be great. It's virtual. It'd be interesting to see what numbers you get, but yeah, look at the branch meeting in Aberdeen.
Right, Tom. Tom Clapton is. I've been asking. He sent a couple of questions in on furlough claims, and I suppose I ought to mention dates of furlough claims. I've had a number of conversations with members who are obviously trying to sort out the dates that they're claiming the furloughs. And what I've done on the COVID-19 Hub, in the FAQs, I've actually broken it down and put a little bit more detail about when to claim. If you are claiming, if you have all monthly employees, workers, then it makes sense to claim from the first to the end of the month and keep it regularly in months. Obviously your first claim would probably have been for 2 months. Sorry, I'm just checking my emails. My emails have just, oh, hang on. Email from Hmrc. Oh no, it's not. It's further. Sorry, I'm just reading to see. No, not the one I was waiting for. It's something else. Sorry, no, it's all about what we've already spoken about. Where was I? If you have monthly paid workers, then I would suggest that you look at claiming from the 1st to the end of the month. Now, don't forget, they're working on a daily rate for the month. So even though there is a maximum of £2,500 per month, Hmrc have issued the daily rates for June, so you do need to work on that. And what I strongly advise you to do if you have people who are paid the same every month is to use the Hmrc calculator, because it will tell you exactly what you can claim. So you put your wages in for your employee that you're working it out on, and it will tell you the amount you can pay under furlough, and it may or may not be £2,500. The amount of NICs you can claim back, and the amount of pension contributions that you can claim back. If you have all weekly paid, then again, once you've made your first claim, you can claim weekly if you want to, or fortnightly, or every 3 weeks, or every month. And you can claim up to 2 weeks in advance. So it's going to be a very, very balancing act as to when you claim what you claim. If you have a mixture of monthly paid and weekly paid, then it can be quite complex. Now, I was talking to a member yesterday, I think, who's got, as I expect you all have, these lovely spreadsheets with everything you're claiming each, that they're earning each week or each month. I like color-coded boxes in a spreadsheet because it makes it much easier to see. So what you need to look at is your start and end date. And if you've got a mixture of weekly and monthly, I still think it makes sense to claim from the first to the end of the month. But if you have a week which is halfway through that and you're paying, say, 2 or 3 days into the next month for your weekly paid, you'll claim that within the next monthly claim, because you can't overlap claim periods, and you can't claim for somebody in a different claim period. And it's going to be very much a work it out on an individual basis, but you can claim as often as you need to. You can claim up to 2 weeks in advance. Now, obviously, you can't claim for a furloughed person until they've been furloughed for a minimum. I'm sorry if I keep looking up. I've got about 4 sparrows, baby sparrows, trying to get into my office window, which is right in front of me. I do apologise. They're literally bombarding my office. Sorry, change the subject. If you have someone and you're maybe claiming weekly, you can't claim until they've been on furlough for 3 weeks. But you can claim for 2 weeks in advance. That gives you 3 weeks of claim. But without actually sitting down and looking at specific dates on a spreadsheet to work out which is the pay period that you claim them in, and if you're claiming 2 weeks in advance, you've obviously got a rolling claim. It's almost impossible to give a definite answer on how to work out your claim dates, because every person is going to be different. Sorry, Tom, that was very confusing and very complex, and I hope it made sense.
With Mike Johnson back on the line here, we've obviously set the cat among the pigeons there. He says, I've got 35 booked already, trying to beat Surrey attendance. Well done, Mike. Yeah, I like a bit of rivalry there, but that is good. Mike runs some good meetings, and he's been running them for a long time. We went down there recently. Jim and I went down to actually in the days of live meetings. Remember those? And a very, very good meeting there. But okay, so well done, Mike. I'm going to keep an eye on the numbers as well. Let's see who gets the biggest attendance.
Nicola's just come in. Sorry, I'm obviously getting very confused about MoneySoft and this employer allowance. About the MoneySoft question, on the software for your clients, if you are claiming the EA, you'll need to tick the box and select yes, state aid rules apply. Yes. Sorry, I understand that. Yes, state aid rules do apply to the employer allowance. So you would have to click yes. I apologise for that. But the CJRS is not a state aid. So any other state aid does count, but the CJRS is not a state aid, so you can ignore it. hopefully, I'm not good at this on a Friday afternoon. Hopefully that makes a bit more sense now. Oh, Steph, I sat on the HMRC webinar last week and they said for weekly staff, you claim every 3 weeks. I've actually got an email from my contact at HMRC that says you can claim 1, 2 or 3 weeks. I will go back and chase that up. I'm really sorry about that, but I've got an email from HMRC senior staff that says different. Oh, it's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare, this.
I think we've, from what we've heard from our members, actually most of them have had the, well, some have had the occasional little niggly problem, but overall, when you look at the size of this, people have done very well. Our members seem to have taken to this like a duck to water. And also that the furlough payments are coming out well, they're not being delayed too long, money's in the bank for the clients. Yeah, we just wait to see about this top up for the self-employed people, see what that does. Hopefully that will be a lifeline for a lot of people. And also just to repeat, because we're getting close towards the end, depending on how many questions come in at the last minute, just to remind you, we answer all the questions. They go on to the ICB hub, which is all about COVID, and you get to that straight through the normal www.bookkeepers.org.uk. Look along the bar of options across the top, take the resources, and then under resources, you'll see the COVID there. So that takes you through everything that we've discussed, all of the questions you've been asked since day one. Jackie, mainly Jackie, and others have been answering, and all the stuff is in there. Obviously, the answers have changed over the last 6 weeks. It's actually 6 weeks we've been doing this.
Yeah.
Over the last 6 weeks. So, you know, go for the latest version of any of those. And just say that next week, we will keep you up to date with everything that's going on. But I have already mentioned that on Monday, we've got Mark Buckley, who's the head of intelligence and enforcement at Companies House. That should be really good. He's at the head of that particular division, and he'll talk to us a lot about what's going on there at Companies House. Particularly for those of you that are taking advantage of your brand new spanking FRS 105 qualification and making presumably a lot of money from that. And then on Tuesday, we've actually got 3 people coming on from Intuit. And they're coming mob-handed. They've got somebody coming in from compliance. We've got somebody who's able to talk about the product, somebody to talk about general topics about small business, etc. I mean, Intuit have sort of been a bit of a revelation over the last couple of years, let's say. And most of you will have seen our adverts on the television talking about the white van man that wants to use their product. But actually, having despaired a little bit of Intuit 24 years ago or something, when we first started, they were very much an American organization. You couldn't have pounds, you had to have dollars and various other things. They seem to have really ramped up their game at the moment. So I think it's going to be good to hear which way they're going and what they're getting up to. And the fact that we've got somebody coming from compliance, that sounds really interesting to me. I mean, that compliance can mean many things to many people, but hopefully by Monday I'll have a bit more information. But that sounds like being a good day. So those of you who are working with Intuit or thinking of working with Intuit or have clients that are working with Intuit, or even would be quite happy to take a few of the self-employed people who are using Intuit and at these current times probably wishing they'd never started it by themselves and looking for somebody to help, come on and speak to them as well. Jackie.
Yeah, I think I've answered most of I think I've actually answered all the questions. The one that's outstanding from today is a confirmation on these furlough claim dates. So I will go back to my contact at HMRC and fire this back at him with the answer from the webinar. And I'm sorry, it's very confusing. Well, we are gradually getting through them all.
Yeah, I mean, we've crossed the hour. I think people have done very well to stick with us for the hour, and I thank you. I mean, we're on, I think Mondays is going to be episode 25, so that's quite a benchmark there. I'm really pleased that we've done this, and so please join us next week. Have a very nice, friendly, quiet weekend, hopefully. Please keep your distance still. Don't think that because the numbers are falling down in those unfortunate people who died during this, that we're getting towards the end. It's in sight, I think, but we're not there yet, and I think we really do need to be careful. I noticed last night when I went to do my weekly shop that there seemed to be a lot more people dashing past in cars, and I just wonder whether they think it's all over and they don't need to worry so much. Well, yeah, I just think we've got to be careful. And we have one of our own team that's just saying that her relatives who are doctors and various linked in that way have now got the virus. So, you know, that's worrying. It's still happening. It hasn't gone away. So please be very careful. Jackie mentioned obviously that we have a bank holiday next Friday, or I did, but Jackie mentioned that therefore we're not going to be doing Thank Furlough.
I know. I'm
not me at all. I'd missed that one.
I'll do Thursday or Friday. I'm easy.
Friday. So you've only got 4 days of us next week. So I hope you can all join us. If you've got any ideas for things that you'd like to...
My email's just come in about the selfie. I knew it would happen just as we were finishing.
Oh, that's good. Great.
Let me just have a quick look. They've just released some guidance on it, and it's called SEIS, by the way. SEISC, Self-Employment Income Support Grant. Let me have a quick look at what it says. Let's have a quick look, see what I can say. Eligible for grant based on, right, trading profits and non-trading income. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about whether it was trading profit or taxable profit, because taxable profit comes after capital allowances. They're now talking about trading profit, which is slightly different, which is good, because that means that it's what you're actually trading, not what you're using the money to invest. So quickly, trading profit. It profits from self-employment and partnerships. We will work out your total trading profit after deducting any allowable expenses, such as expenses, capital allowances, and flat rate expenses. It's not taxable profit. It's trading profit after capital allowances. So that is still in there. Profit from self-employment, partnerships, short return. They've got some examples there on how it's going to work out. Very quickly going through what's happened if you haven't traded for 3 years. What's included? Oh, now here's an interesting one. Hmrc will work out your non-trading income by adding together all of your income from earnings, property income, which wasn't going to be in there, dividends, savings income, pensions income, and overseas income. That's non-trading income. Okay, I obviously need to read this. I'll have this, maybe Gary, I can come back on this on Monday.
Yeah. I mean,
working out the grant, they've got some examples to work out the grant. Yeah, what they've come up with today is what they're using as trading profit. So I'll work through that over the weekend for Monday or Tuesday.
Well, I hope Carol Shipley didn't miss that, because she just said thank you all so much for these webinars. They're invaluable. Keep safe. Have a rest of the weekend, and we'll see you all next week. So she might have disappeared and just missed that one. So anyway,
yeah.
we will go.
What I will probably do is get something up on the COVID-19 hub, hopefully as soon as I've come to terms with all of that.
Yeah, I'm reminded of all those newsreaders on television that are talking when all of a sudden they get something in their ear and they completely change what they're doing, you know.
Literally emails, just
that's great.
Okay.
Okay, Jackie, thank you very much again.
Thank you very much, all. Have a good weekend.
Yeah, and we've got the man from Company's House coming on Monday, but I think if you can come back on as well, we can have a chat and we can include that.
Yeah, I'll speak to you Monday morning when I've got some bits and pieces, Gary. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a lovely weekend. Bye.